Imagine two people spend time in a room full of sick people. One comes down with the flu a few days later, the other doesn't even get a sniffle. Same germs, same room, different outcome. Why is that? In this video, we're going to explore one of the most powerful and misunderstood principles in natural health, terrain. You'll learn what it is, why it matters more than germs themselves, and how it holds the key to real, resilient immunity. As a naturopathic doctor, I help people understand how their bodies work naturally, not just by fighting symptoms, but by building strength from the inside out. So by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how terrain-focused health can change your relationship with illness and is the key to building resilient natural immunity and health in yourself and your family. Let's go. In the last video on natural immunity, we talked about your body as a battlefield, but it's also like a garden. Picture two garden beds side by side. One is lush, full of nutrients with healthy soil and thriving plants. The other, however, is dry, depleted, and vulnerable to weeds and pests. Which one do you think is more resilient? I want to tell you a story about Marie and her neighbor. A few years ago, a woman named Marie decided to start a garden bed alongside her neighbor's plot. Marie lovingly prepared her garden. She practiced companion planting, composted, mulched, added minerals, watered consistently, let the soil rest between plantings, and even spoke to her plants, because that's just who she is. On the other hand, her neighbor's garden was largely neglected. A few seeds were tossed into dry soil, but the plot was left mostly untended. After a few weeks, the difference between the garden beds was stunning. Marie's well-tended garden grew tall, vibrant vegetables with barely a nibble from pests. But her neighbor's garden struggled. Weeds had taken over, the plants looked weak and yellowing, and there were bugs everywhere. One day, her neighbor came by and asked, "What kind of spray are you using to keep the bugs away?" Marie smiled and said, "I'm not using any. I just focused on making sure the soil was strong and healthy." Just like Marie's thriving garden, your body doesn't need to constantly fight off every microbe with force when the soil, your internal terrain, is healthy. The more nourished your internal terrain, the more resilient you become. From this perspective, we don't need to fear every weed or pest. We just need to care for the soil. That's the difference between a strong terrain and a compromised one. Your terrain is your body's internal environment. It's the sum of your nutrition, hydration, sleep, movement, emotional state, and more. In short, it's the soil of your body. When your terrain is strong and balanced, pathogens are less likely to take hold or cause serious illness. Your terrain is the foundation that shapes how well your body responds to illness. It includes your gut health and microbiome, your nutrient levels, your stress and hormone balance, your hydration, sleep, movement, and your connection with nature. When your terrain is healthy, viruses and bacteria are much less likely to overwhelm your system. And here's a tip I often share with clients. Instead of rushing to treat a symptom, pause and assess the terrain. The symptom is often not a mistake, it's a messenger. And the message it's carrying usually gives us a big clue about the root causal factors that need addressing. Back in the 1800s, two scientists had very different ideas about disease. Louis Pasteur believed that germs were the root of illness, a concept that became known as germ theory. This led to antibiotics, vaccines, and an entire medical system focused on battling microbes. But others like Claude Bernard and Antoine Béchamp emphasized the importance of the terrain, the body's internal environment. Bernard famously said, "The microbe is nothing, the terrain is everything." Germ theory focuses on the invader. It sees the body as a victim that needs defense. Terrain theory focuses on the host. It sees the body as intelligent and symptoms as adaptations or detox efforts. It's the difference between swatting mosquitoes all day or drying up the stagnant water they breed in. Germ theory says kill the invader, while terrain theory says strengthen the host. And think about this. During flu season, not everyone exposed to the flu virus gets sick. Why? Because not everyone has the same internal terrain. Some bodies are more prepared, while others are more vulnerable. Let's go back to 1918, one of the deadliest flu pandemics in modern history. Hospitals were overwhelmed, people were dying at alarming rates, but something surprising happened in Boston. A group of doctors set up an open-air hospital, treating flu patients not indoors, but under tents, with sunlight, fresh air, and airflow all around them. It wasn't fancy or high-tech, but it worked. They treated over 350 critically ill patients, and their mortality rate was nearly 1/3 of nearby indoor hospitals. This is because even without fully understanding it, they were supporting terrain. Sunlight provided natural ultraviolet light, which we now know helps kill pathogens on surfaces and in the air. But more importantly, it stimulated vitamin D production, which is a powerful modulator of the immune system. Low vitamin D is strongly associated with increased susceptibility to respiratory infections and even with higher all-cause mortality in many studies. Fresh air and cross-ventilation reduced the viral load in the environment, so the body wasn't constantly overwhelmed. It also helped oxygenate tissues, which immune cells rely on to function optimally. And being outside, connected with nature, likely helped calm the nervous system, shifting patients out of the stress response and back into rest, repair, and immune regulation. Here's the key insight. We are natural beings. We come from nature, and it makes sense that the body responds best when it's supported by nature. Sunlight, air, warmth, calm, they aren't just comforts. They're biological inputs that nourish our terrain. So without antivirals or antibiotics, these patients recovered at much higher rates, not because the virus was different, but because their terrain was being restored and supported. Remember Louis Pasteur, the father of germ theory, who spent his career fighting microbes? Well, on his deathbed, he's claimed to have admitted, Bernard was right. The microbe is nothing. The terrain is everything. Germs exist all around us, but they only take root and cause illness when the terrain allows it. Illness then becomes less about exposure and more about personal susceptibility. Exposure to pathogens doesn't guarantee illness. How your body responds often depends on the resilience and balance of your internal terrain. Here's why your terrain is so important. When your lymphatic system is congested, your body can't detox efficiently. When your gut lining is compromised, your immune system can't communicate or coordinate well. When your nervous system is stuck in sympathetic fight or flight, digestion, healing, and immune defense slow down or shut off. So your immune system isn't just a lone soldier fighting invaders for you. It's part of a whole ecosystem within your terrain. And when that terrain is strong, your immune system can do what it's designed to do. It recognizes threats, responds appropriately, clears them and recovers, and even builds memory for the future. But when your terrain is weakened, the immune system can become overwhelmed, confused, or suppressed. The good news is you shape your terrain every day through small, steady choices that add up over time. You don't need to fear every new virus or label yourself as someone with a weak immune system. Your terrain can be strengthened, and it responds incredibly well to consistency. So instead of asking, how do I kill this germ, shift your attention to what in my internal terrain might be allowing this to take hold. Consider questions like, am I well rested? Am I eliminating toxins every day? Am I digesting well? Am I emotionally regulated? Am I getting enough sunlight, minerals, and movement? These aren't small lifestyle details. These are key factors in terrain strength and resilience. So what does this actually look like inside the body? Think of your immune system not as a single entity, but as a complex orchestra. You've got strings, percussion, horns, all different instruments working together. When the terrain is strong, it's like the instruments are tuned, the conductor is steady, and the music flows with harmony and precision. But when the terrain is stressed, lacking in sleep, low in nutrients, inflamed by sugar, or overstimulated, the conductor starts to lose control. Some sections go silent, others play out of sync or off key. And the result is either a weak, confused response or a chaotic overreaction that causes more harm than good. This is often what happens with chronic inflammation or autoimmune tendencies. The terrain becomes so off balance that the immune system mistakes friendly players for threats. But here's the beautiful part. Your terrain isn't fixed. It's alive, dynamic, and always responding and adapting to your choices. For example, when you support your sleep, you're not just resting, you're giving your immune system a full reset, building immune memory, clearing waste from the brain, and fine-tuning its sensitivity to real threats. When you nourish your body with real food, you're giving your cells the literal building blocks they need to function well. When you slow down, breathe deeply, and spend time in nature, you're telling your nervous system you're safe. And that message is critical because immune function is tightly linked to your nervous system state. When we live in a chronic fight or flight sympathetic state, the body deprioritizes immune repair in favor of short-term survival. But when we shift into rest and digest mode, even for a few minutes, The parasympathetic nervous system helps bring immune intelligence back online. It starts scanning with discernment instead of panic. It clears out wastes and creates the conditions for healing. This is why terrain-focused care isn't about quick fixes. It's about building the kind of internal environment where your body feels safe to heal, where your immune system isn't just stronger, but it's also smarter. Now, here's a gentle reframe. A fever, headache, or short-term fatigue aren't always negative signs. In fact, they can mean your body noticed something, responded, and is now recovering. That's what a well-coordinated terrain looks like. It's aware, responsive, and adaptable. And sometimes a strong terrain doesn't even need to produce symptoms at all. The immune system may respond so efficiently, neutralizing a threat before it spreads, that you may not feel sick at all. This is called an asymptomatic immune response, and it's more common than people think. For example, studies have shown that many people develop antibodies to certain viruses, meaning their immune systems encountered and dealt with that pathogen, but they never experienced any outward signs of illness. So no fever, no fatigue, just the immune system doing its job without needing to sound any alarms. So the goal isn't never getting sick. It's helping your body become so resilient that when you do face a challenge, you either move through it quickly with mild symptoms, or you clear it so efficiently that you barely notice. That's the deeper promise of terrain-focused health, not just fewer sick days, but a more intelligent and responsive body and immune system, one that's better equipped to adapt, recover, and stay balanced no matter what's going around. Okay, here's the big picture. Germs are a part of life, but your terrain is what determines whether they thrive. When your terrain is strong, you aren't just avoiding illness, you're building immunity, resilience, and vitality. So now you know, while germs play a role, natural immunity depends just as much, if not more, on your terrain. By strengthening your internal terrain, you give your bodies the tool to respond to the world around you with more confidence and resilience. Just like tending soil before planting seeds, when we care for our terrain, we create the right conditions for health to flourish naturally. It might take some time, it might require patience, but the payoff is well worth it. If you want simple, practical tips on how to strengthen your health and terrain, download my free holistic guide on nurturing natural immunity. The link is in the description below. You have more influence over your health than you may realize. Thanks for watching.